Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Top Bins. This is episode 4. I know it's been a while since I brought out another episode. It's just really difficult to try to figure out how to get a guest on, reach out to guests, and try to have someone on consistently. So I think I'm going to try something a little bit different where I come on probably once a week to do some sort of podcast, just talk about a couple some topics that have been going on during the week with trainers, coaches, other athletes, footballers, right? And so my goal now is to kind of switch it up a little bit, and then hopefully pray that we can get a guest on once a month to be more educational and have like their input of where they become footballers or any type of information that they want to share with parents and players. So we're gonna take a little bit of a turn on things, but let's try this out and see how this works. So again, episode 4, and today I am going to talk a little bit about our international tours that you've probably been seeing that I've been promoting here lately. So international tour, it was kind of like I remember I was sitting and kind of trying to figure out like how can I set myself apart from other trainers? I know there's other trainers around the area. Besides my resume and kind of like everything that I've done football wise, coaching wise, training wise, playing wise, there was something else I needed to add to Club 10, and that's when I came up with international tour because a lot of my connections were overseas, and so what better way? Everybody wants to try to play overseas here in the States. And so why not use the connections that I have over in London and kind of start exposing players to the possibility of playing international? Right now, we're obviously just going to London, but I would like to branch out and have the possibility of going to Germany and Spain and Romania and different places like that. Just because each country has its own style of play. And so not every player is fit to play English football. Not everybody's made to play Spanish football. And so I think there has to be a variety of exposure for players to kind of try to find out where they can start at. And doesn't mean that they won't end up in English soccer or Spanish soccer. It's just that sometimes you need a stepping stone, and that stepping stone can come from any of those countries in Europe. And so each country also has different prerequisites for you to play there. The bigger countries, the more popular leagues are a little bit more difficult to get your foot in. So our goal is to simply expose the player to international play, to show them the quality of what it is to play internationally, what they need to play internationally, and then to kind of get the feel of like, okay, I can hold my own, or oh my God, there's a big gap and there's a lot that I need to go and do. Excuse me. Whew. All right. So that's a little bit about it. So let's talk a little bit about this tour. We've been to London twice. The first time that we went, we took like a mixture of a group. We took like a 12-year-old, I think it was a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 15-year-old, 17, 19, 20, 21. So it was a big mixture to kind of show what range of players that we have and the quality of players. And it was successful. I think everybody came out from the tour learning a lot, spending a couple hours a day training with the coaches over there was very big for them. And where we ended up training with was my old coach from when I played out there. His name is Coach Wale. He has an organization called Woe Sports, where he did coaching and the senior men's league coaching and coached at a high level and did some academy coaching and playing. And so now he's kind of pulled away from that, and now he's doing more of an academy. But academies work a little bit different than they do here in the States. So he's more of a football developer. So he develops footballers. He brings in players and he works with like very young players from the age of 4 all the way up to their teenagers. And his goal is to develop these athletes and develop these footballers to where he can get them to sign, or they can get signed from an upper league teams, right? And there's so many leagues in London, so in England, I should say. And so get them in the academies at a young age is very good for them. And so that's kind of like what's the idea with even our players coming over. So we spend a week with Coach Wale and his staff, and every day is a different training session. The first time, like I said, the first time we went, it was just a couple hours of training, Monday through Friday. And then on Tuesdays, it was 2 hours also, but then in the evenings we had like 5v5 games. And I think that 5v5, those games were very important for those players because they got to see what it was like and how fast it was. And the players left that week with an amazing amount of information, seeing the game completely different, and knowing the quality and the speed that it takes to play at that level. And I think all of them have come back from that tour and like used that to elevate their game to the next level. And so with every training session that they did, they focused on different things, whether it was bringing a ball out of the air, it was juggling, it's working on volleys, different types of shooting, dribbling, making moves, different types of moves, all the ball mastery skills that you see, and a lot of playing. And so the players, I believe, stepped up to the challenge and did very, very well, given that there wasn't much time of preparation for that first tour, because it was our first time. So we just really didn't know what to expect. But I made sure that I pushed the guys and pushed them. I will say that there was 2 spots where I probably could have done a little bit better, and it was just having the players focus on juggling a lot more. And so now we've incorporated like size 3 juggling because they're really big on being able to juggle. And then the other brand was just fitness. Like I knew that the English football was, you have to be super fit to play over there. And the majority of players here are just not that fit. And when they got there, they realized, like, this is why Coach Luigi talks about fitness all the time. And I'm like, you got to be fit. You got to be fit. You got to run. You got to do your sprints, because these guys just run the whole game. And it's constant running. And so the next tour that we ended up taking, we structured a little bit better, to where we did 3 months of very difficult training for the players. We did an individual setting, we did it in a group setting, and we made sure that we incorporated fitness. And it was 3 months of grueling work for these 4 guys, and they did not disappoint. They worked through and they did really, really well, preparing themselves to get there. And then when we finally got there, the guys performed the way they needed to. It didn't even seem like they were behind. If anything, they were at their level. And some of the coaches under Coach Wale were very impressed with how quickly they adapted to the sessions and how quickly they adapted to the training, and how they were able to compete at a high level. And even some of the coaches saw certain players and were like, man, that player, I would love to have them in this position or that position, and see how they do. And so those 3 months really paid off for these guys. It paid off so well. One of the young players is actually getting signed by Coach Wale and will be moving to London in May. And later my goal is to have a little short episode with him and kind of talk about his experience with the 2 times that he's traveled to London and with the big move that's coming forward. And then the other couple guys that they saw, they want those guys to come back and play in tournaments to get a lot of game reps, because training is one thing, but then when you start getting into games, this is where your quality starts to show. And so them training with them for a week, adapting to their style of training, and showing them that they can compete, it was big for them. And it's like, okay, now let's get them into games. And so there should be a tournament going on that Coach Wale puts on in London in around July, and so we'll see. I'll sit down with those two guys, see if that's something that they want to do, and go get some more exposure and play a few tournaments over there. I think it'd be great for them. And when they're there training, I will say, like, Coach Wale and his staff are very big on players having like a little it factor. Like, they're very big on development. So whenever they watch players and they watch them train, they look for, like, okay, do you have that motivation to want to get better? Do you have a bit of skill to you? You know, do you show some passion? Once you kind of show them a glimpse of that, it's like, boom, that's the player I want to work with. I can develop that player. As long as they show me that they have that it factor and they have that will, they want players like that, because they can make them into footballers, because that's their job. They can develop the players. What they can't do is want it for the player. The player has to want it and wants to show up and be on time and stay late and ask questions, right? So that's what they're looking for, and all our guys gave that to them, which is why it was a success. And it's a success because I make sure these guys are prepared. They have to be prepared for what we're gonna do over there. I don't send them in blind. I make sure that we have conversations after every training sessions, have conversations with the parents, and kind of continue focusing on why it's so important that we do what we do in this program, because we all want to be successful. And so the players are having a good time first, and their experience is growing. And when they come back, you can tell they've played somewhere else. Like this, they're at a different level already, just because they've been around different players and different coaching staff. And I think it's important, even though I'm a trainer and coach, I think it's important that players hear from other trainers and they hear from other coaches, so they can kind of adapt their philosophy and adapt to different situations. I'm not a big component of players staying just in one spot with just one trainer and everything. I think it's important for them to move around and kind of see what fits and what doesn't fit, because everybody has different knowledge, has different information, and it's only going to grow the player. And then the player gets to realize, like, okay, I'm a fit for this. I'm not a fit here. And then they can kind of distinguish what's best for them. So again, why international tours? I think international tours for American players is huge. They have to be exposed to a different style of football. And I think that's something that the U.S. is lacking, is just an identity. Currently, the identity is, well, I'm going to pay, and so I should be able to play. And, or you have the identity of players not having the means, and it's just like, I'm not going to be exposed, and so they don't get exposed to like higher level coaches and teams, and especially in the area that we come from here, it's like it's difficult to get around. It seems like all games are like an hour away. Whenever you see something that's like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, you're like, oh, perfect, this is close. And so these international tours are important for players to kind of increase their quality of play and just kind of see the identity that comes from players in different countries, because I think there's a lack of identity here in the United States. Even when you go through your coaching system, they just kind of tell coaches, hey, just run a 4-3-3. Like, this is what we do. This is what we want to do, is just a 4-3-3. And yes, 4-3-3 works, but you got to help a coach identify like what exactly we're looking for to develop in players to make it on the top teams and to make it to the national team and to be exposed to like the ODP teams or academies for your local clubs, or even possibility playing for a U.S. national team. I mean, there has to be some sort of identity of what we're looking for. And I think that's what we lack in the United States. And going to these international tours, I think, is big, because they get exposed, they get to see a different quality, and they get to grow as players on and off the field. Um, and then not everybody's going to be picked to play on a local academy or get picked to play for a national team, but doesn't mean that you can't play at a pro level, right? It's just you got to find a different route. And so this is the route that we're trying to do, and this is why we're creating these international tours. And yes, right now we're working with World Sports in London, but our goal is to branch out and go over to Germany, like I said, with a buddy of mine called Eliel. And so I hope to take that flight soon and head over to Germany to kind of make these connections with them and to kind of map out another strategy going towards Germany. And then working with Soccer Visa is one of my next goals. I would like to connect more with Joe there and try to see what Romania has to offer. And he has tons and tons and tons of knowledge that he has given me and information that he's given me about, kind of these prerequisites on the odds of signing internationally, what each country has different prerequisites. And so although it is very difficult to sign in London, this is why we want to take younger players, because you get them into the academy sooner. And the reality is, in any of these international tours, in any of these countries, when they say that they're looking for a player, it's a striker, center back, outside back, whatever the position, and it's like, hey, do you know a guy that plays this position that can come over? The reality is they want someone that's living there now. Like that, they want someone that's there, right? And so can they wait a week for you to come in? I mean, sure, they can wait a week, but they also take into account, like, all right, we got to book them a flight. They got to book an Airbnb, and how long are they going to be at their Airbnb? And what if they don't sign? Then it's just like thousands of dollars wasted, just for a quick brick come in and then go home, like type thing. So when it's time to make these commitments, even for the young guy that's going over in May, like same conversation was had with him, like you got to be here, like be here for a few months and see what happens. Like that's just the harsh reality. And so I think that works for certain players, and it kind of has expectations for other players, right? So for example, the young guy, like he's just in a situation where him and his family can move, right, and go over there. And there's going to be other players that don't have that ability, but they're there, and if they go to international tours with us and they're constantly in front of these coaches, and it's time for them to graduate high school and they start saving up some money, they start working and saving up some money, they can get in with these coaches and be like, hey, listen, I'm planning on moving here. Like, I'm going to be here. And these coaches already know you. They've already been exposed to you, so they're waiting on, they'll be like, yeah, that's good. Like, come on over, right? You're about to graduate high school. As soon as you graduate high school, if you're not going to go to college and you're going to come play the pros, like, make sure you have some money in your bank account, work, save up, and move over here. And that's what it takes. And so, again, my job, and I feel like our goal is to have players exposed at a young age to where they don't turn 18, 19, and they're just like, I don't know what to do next. It's kind of like a preparation of like, do I want to move internationally? Do I want to go the college route and then move internationally? And just kind of give them options on what they can do. And this is what we're here for, is to guide them through all those situations. And so now we have another international tour coming up, and this is for the high schoolers and the footballers, high school footballers and college footballers, so they can have that exposure and go over there and see what it's like and what options do they have. So we're excited about that. I would love to take about 12 to 15 players. That's my goal. And it's going to be on December 20th. It's going to be our little ID camp to sit down and talk to the parents and the players of kind of expectations of the tour and what it's going to take. And we will be over with World Sports in April. So again, starting January, we'll hit it hard with trainings, fitness, group trainings, all that kind of stuff to prepare players for the April tour. And so everyone asked me, will we miss school? Yes, you're going to miss school, but we always have letters that we can give to the school for excuse notes. But it's give and take, right? Like, they have holidays over there, so it's not our official week holiday. So do we take advantage of their week holiday or do we not? So it's a little give and take. And I understand for some parents it's really crazy to have to miss a week. But my boys missed like a few days this last time we went to London. I got to take my two sons with me. And it was very exciting. They were impressed by the boys, and my son got to play in a tournament that weekend, and I was excited for him. I think he did fantastic. The coaches loved him. He scored a goal, missed a couple goals that he should have had, but again, it was like adapting to the game for him. And I told him, like, Guillermo, you're 8 playing in London already. I didn't play in London until I was like 22, so you're way ahead of the curve. And so he was very excited about that, and he came back motivated, wanting to get better. And his whole goal is like, I want to go back and play again. I got to get better while I'm here to go back and play again. Like, I want to go back and play again. And Jose Luis, my youngest one, he's like, I didn't get to play, so I need to get better so I can, when I get older, like, they can ask me to go play in a tournament. And so that's going to be fun for them too. And that's what we want for players. So April is the go time for the international tour, and then December 20th, which is a Saturday morning, we're going to do just a quick 2-hour camp just to kind of see players, talk to the players and parents, and kind of get on the same page for this next tour. So some stuff that we want to talk about why we do as a trainer. I do group and individual sessions. Everyone's a little bit different. I'm truly like a training for like individual players to have them grow into 11v11 players. I'm not too sure what other obviously trainers do. I'm not really big into the camps. I've tried doing camps, and sometimes they're successful and sometimes they're not. But I feel like for me and Club 10, like we really focus on building the individual player and growing them into becoming elite 11v11 players. And so I always start off with kind of individual sessions, and because that's the time where we get to grow together and kind of like create this bond and like this trust of, okay, Luigi's going to help me grow individually with footwork, with dribbling, passing, shooting, ball mastery, my speed, techniques, like all that kind of stuff, right? Has to be focused individually. And understanding the position that you play, right? So everything looks a little bit different and is explained a little bit different based off of what position you play. Can we do the same drills? Of course, but it's a different reality of how you see the session. So an outside back isn't going to see the session the same way a center back is, the same way as a CDM, a cam, a forward, a winger. It's just not going to see it the same way. And so even though we may be doing the same sessions because I have a structure with my program, it's explained completely different to each player based off of position. And so that's the key to individual trainings and why I feel like we have so much success. There's so many players that we've started off with that are like Division 2 players, maybe Super 2 players. And now all of them are growing into like this MLS Next, Texas 2 or official MLS Next teams, or being called up to like academies and everything like that. So it's constant growth from the player. And you'll see the player continuously growing, because after we get in a certain amount of individual sessions, then I kind of transition them into like group training. And with group training, it's hard, whether it's like a coach that's coaching a team doing 11v11 trainings, or if we're doing 6 or 8 players in a session. These sessions are more difficult in my opinion. They're way more difficult than an individual session. Individual sessions are easy. These bigger ones is like more things to focus on. And so I think in the group sessions it's difficult because you have to focus on timing, right? Working with other players, seeing how they take their touch, if it's a bad pass or a good pass, how good their touch was. You have to find the rhythm and you have to make it look game-like, to where players aren't standing around, just waiting. It's constant moving, right? And so there's more coaching involved in 11v11 in groups than there is in individuals. I know a lot of people feel like I should pay less for group sessions, and it depends what the session looks like. If it's just like a big camp and everybody's like just dribbling, okay, I can understand that. But if my job is to help you understand 11v11 and understand what the winger needs to be doing or the center mid needs to be doing or a defender, then that requires more detail, right? This is why coaches get paid the big bucks to coach 11v11, to coach at Chelsea, to coach at Man U, Barcelona, wherever you're at, Bayern Munich. Like, these that get paid the big bucks because they have to deal with a lot more players. Yes, do they have trainers with them and the staff? Of course, but it requires more effort. There's more tactics. And so individually is just completely different than a group session. And so I like to scale my players. I want to be on the same page with my players. I want us to be in sync. I want to say, let's do this, this, and this. And the player knows exactly what I'm talking about. And there's no like, wait, can you show me? Or what does that mean again? Like, I don't have time for that. Let's go. Let's do this session. And so that's the reason why I scale my training sessions that way. And with conversations that I've been having going around, like I've talked to like individual players individually that I train, or going over and watching other teams or helping other coaches with their teams. Players come and ask like, hey coach, I just don't feel like, one conversation I had is just like, coach, I don't feel like I'm getting any better. I've been with this team for a while. I don't feel like I'm getting much better. And it's like, okay, I understand. So where do you feel like you're falling short? And the player's like, I don't feel like I'm doing enough. Okay, well, how much time are you doing in individual work? I mean, I only show up to team training. Well, you can't just do team training and expect to get better, right? I mean, your coach has to be worried about how to win a game. He has to come up with 11v11 tactics. His job's not to train you individually. That's for you on the outside. That's what we're here for. This is what I'm here for. Is to train you individually. He's expected to win games, and he's got to put down sessions and things that are going to become game related and turn those games into W's, whether it's figuring out how to defend corners or attacking corners, free kicks, throw-ins, build out play, pressing as a team. It's completely different. And so my advice to that player was like, you just need to get individual sessions in. Like, you're just not going to get better because you're not working on your own, right? Or I've had conversations with other players about their expectations. It's like, well, what are your expectations? What level do you want to play at? Because with every goal that you have, it takes there's a level of sacrifice that you have to make, right? If your goal is just like, hey man, I just want to play high school soccer and just be fit. Okay, well then let me not coach you as if you were going to be a pro athlete. The training changes, the expectations of the player changes, right? So I think that's very important when it comes to talking to players and having that trust factor with your trainer or your coach. The other part is I've had conversations with players about like, I just want to get better. How do I get better? How do I become a starter? I feel like I'm on the bench. I want to make the starting roster and I'm just on the bench. I don't know how to move myself into that position. And the reality is, well, you got to get better at soccer. And the only way you're going to get better at football or soccer is knowing what you're doing. And you have to treat it like you're in school. And so my advice to the player is, if my coach keeps playing me at outside back or CDM, like that's just the position that they keep playing me in, and I'm not too familiar with how to play that position, my job is to get familiar with that position. Because if I suck at outside back or CDM and he keeps playing me at CDM and outside back, I've got to clue in that that's where he's going to play me. He's not going to play me anywhere else. So I have to get better. And where am I going to learn to get better is by watching games, not watching highlights. You got to watch games and figure out what they're doing, what these pro athletes are doing, what a player's doing in that position that is causing them to start or playing well, and learning from that. You're not going to get better by just going, okay, I'm just going to show up and hopefully he plays me somewhere else. No, he's shown you that he's only going to play you in that position. So you have to get better. It's like if you're in school and you're struggling at math or science or whatever. If you're struggling, what happens? You go in for tutoring. We are the tutors. The trainers are the tutors. So come in for tutoring. That's the only way you're going to get better. And you can show and be like, coach, listen, I'm getting played at outside back. I have no clue what I'm doing. Can you please help me? That's our job. We are the tutors. We're going to help you get better at that position. But you have to do your part and watch the game and study the game, because it does you no good to just go watch highlights. That's not going to teach you how to play the game. And so easy for everyone nowadays, right? You just jump on YouTube, watch a game or any of these apps, and you can just click it and rewind the play and just hit play again. Like in my day, we had to like record in a VHS tapes, and I remember sitting down having to play and rewind and play. Oh, how did you do that build up play? Pause, rewind, play. And we're just sitting in front of the VCR like playing with the buttons to try to see this play again. And so it's so much easier now, but you have to understand that you have to grow here. Nobody's going to hire a plumber to come do their electrical work. It's crazy. So then why would your expectations change for soccer? Like it's the same thing. You have to get better. You have to sacrifice time. If there is time where you're watching TikTok, you're on Instagram, you're playing a video game, stop and think, have I watched any game film? Did I get better in any way? If not, turn it off and go watch. Go watch. And you got to start watching now in order to get better. And watch your film. And we can go over film with you. Like you want to bring over your film and say, hey, coach, help me break down my film. Like I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Let's look at it. Right? And we'll give you pointers. Obviously, we can't say exactly what you should do just because we don't know the tactics of the coach. But we can kind of position you and tell you, okay, here you could have done this. Here you could have done that. Does your coach want you more tucked in or more out wide in these situations? Like, well, I don't know. Well, let's ask, and then we can figure that out, right? So that's the idea. I feel like too many players are just getting lost because they don't want to put the time in. They don't realize that you have to study the game. It's just not good enough just showing up and toe poking a ball. That's not going to translate to wins, and that's not going to translate to getting seen and playing at a higher league. It's just a reality. It's just not going to happen. And so I think that's the other part. You have to be very black and white in soccer and football. You've got to say what it is. Like I don't sugarcoat anything, which is why I feel like I don't train a big group of players. There's like very specific type of players that come to me because they can handle what's going to come out of my mouth. I'm not going to be there and yes, sir, you, or yes, ma'am, you. Oh, yeah, yes. And then after the session, be like, oh, they were fantastic. Oh my God, they're great. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, this isn't what that is. Like, this is football. I'm not going to set you up for failure. If they're doing poorly in a session, I'm going to tell you this session was poor. We need to do it again. Like, it's not up to quality. Like, they have to grow in quality, right? And I feel like that's what sets me apart and sets our staff apart, is that we're just very straightforward. Let's not blow smoke over nobody's butt. No blowing smoke. Say what it is. But we're here to make you better. If I feel like you did poorly in the session, my job is to make you do the session correctly, right? And so girls do a great job at looking for help. Boys don't. That's just the reality. Guys don't. Guys think they know it all and they want to, and they can do it all, and they don't need extra help, and they're perfect the way they are. And then this guy shows up to watch a session or to watch a game and go, I don't know. Like, you're playing the midfield, you don't hustle very much. Your work rate is very low, or you're a winger. Like, you don't even go into the attack. Like, you haven't taken on that outside back once. Like, you didn't even run at him with the ball. You just released every time. That's not good. Or if you're a defender and it's like, yeah, I'm a defender, but you don't play physical. Like, you don't touch one player. But you're not a defender. Who's telling you you're a defender? That's where I come in. And I say these things to players, and players are like offended. Like, what? I can't believe you're telling me that. And it's like, Well, you should be mad at everybody else that blew smoke up your ass that told you that you could play that when it's not, when it doesn't look good. And all they're doing is telling you something that's not going to work, and they're setting you up for failure. And so, but players and parents make the mistake of going to somewhere else because it's like, oh man, they're great. They're fantastic. And they come here and they hear me say, they're okay. There's growth. There's a lot. The growth is there, but it's not there yet. They have a lot of work to do, and so I think that's the biggest difference. And that's the way it is in London. Like that's the way it is where I played. Like coaches show up, it's like, yeah, there's a little bit of a potential, blah blah blah. Like okay, and yes, you take that kind of factor in whenever they're young, but they hit an age where now they're showing up and they're expected to be talked to the same way, and all of a sudden it's harsh. Nope, you suck. I don't have time for you. Go on, move on. Like, nope, you're a winger and you don't do this. Nope, move on. You're a striker, but you can't put the ball in the back of the net. Move on. Like, but this whole time they've been told, my kid was great. My kid was good. And all of a sudden they just fell off a cliff. No, it's not all of a sudden. They just haven't been told the harsh reality. And so I'm big on harsh reality now, but with kind of helping them and grooming them and polishing them and having them understand what the game is. And I do the same thing for my 8-year-old and 6-year-old. It's like, okay, you can do a little bit more. There's some stuff that you need to work on, but that's the only way they're going to get better. That's it, right? And so, but that advice comes with expectations of the player. Like, what does the player expect? I'm not going to be harsh with the player that tells me, I just want to be fit. Like, I'm just looking to be fit. You know, like I don't really have a lot of goals when it comes to football. It's just I want to be fit, make the high school team, get a letterman, be done with it. Okay, well then, you know, my conversations change with you. So I hope I answered some of your questions, and I hope you found this a little bit, you found a little knowledge, a little good information, education in this session. And like I said, we're going to talk more. I'm going to incorporate different things that are going on during the week. May even talk about some Chelsea games and see what that looks like. And just go from there. And then hopefully I can sign a guest on to where, you know, they're in here. We can get a guest on once a month and kind of grow Top Bins and grow this podcast. So I appreciate everybody, and we'll see you soon.